now, though, what's got Britain talking in the headlines? Nick Ferrari and Ashley James are here to give us their take on the latest story.
Good morning.
Good to see you both. So we're going to start about the government's plans to extend early release. I think it was September last year, Nick. The government did their first major early release programme. Prisoners, 1,700 prisoners were released. They have announced an expansion of this. Can you explain what it looks like?
Yes, it is absolutely front-page news. Thousands of prisoners who are recalled to prison after breaching their licence condition will be allowed back onto the streets after just 28 days. Now, let's get a couple of things out there. You will only have got between a 1 and 4 year term, so it's not as if these are terrorists or murderers, but they are people who could be guilty of domestic abuse and other violent crimes. Without blitzing your viewers with too many figures, we are in parlous condition, and that is an inheritance from the previous government. The number of spaces in male jails fell below 500. But what is interesting here is there's a woman called Helen Newlove, who was the widow of Gary Newlove, who some of your viewers remember was beaten to death when he challenged people who were vandalising his car many, many years ago. Right. His widow is now Baroness Newlove. She is the government's own victim czar, and she's angry. So when she says that this will leave people, and I quote, unnerved, bewildered, and it has implications for victim safety. This is the first time she's ever spoken out against the government in her role as government czar. So that's the thing for your viewers to take away. Even someone who is there for the victims. And the crisis is not of this government's making. I want to make that absolutely clear.
I remember us talking about it.
Do you remember I shared figures with you?
Yes, you absolutely did, and they were
at one point, no one's meant to know this, but at one point, the number of spaces in jails fell to double digits. That's all they had left, and that is beyond the worst. So they've inherited it, but there are major concerns about people's safety, as has been voiced by Baroness Newlove, who you just saw.
You can understand the concerns, can't you, Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think, as you said, you know, they've inherited this absolutely horrific situation. These are emergency measures, but even when you think about, you know, domestic abusers, sex offenders being released onto the streets after 28 days, according to Women's Aid, a woman is killed by a man every week. That is how severe domestic abuse can be. What is the deterrent? And also, imagine for someone that has had to go endure the kind of judicial system to finally get someone put in prison, and then they get a 28-day sentence. It's absolutely terrifying. I'd be terrified I mean, it's not just women who are the victims of domestic abuse, but, you know, I'm terrified as a woman, and I'm terrified also for children. Again, what is the deterrent for sex offenders if they only have 28 days in prison? And I really don't know, you know, what they can do to fix this system, other than obviously like funding. They're putting in 4.7 billion to build 3 new prisons by 2031. But I mean, that seems
miles away.
So campaigners would say, Ben, that you don't build a jail overnight, and you have enormous local objectives. It's got few people who are going to want a prison at the end of the road. But what they do point to is we are locking up people in greater number and far longer than ever before. And that means because, and let's face it, every government wants to be seen to be tough on crime. You look at the so-called summer riots, and the judiciary took the decision there that people were going to jail, and I'm not condoning it for a moment, but for sending text messages. Suddenly you are taking up a jail space. I think the judiciary needs to look at itself. Obviously, people who beat up their partners, of course they could. White-collar crime, sending texts. Should that, if we're so parlously low, do we need to have a ring? That's what some campaigners would argue.
Right. And I guess it's like looking at prevention, isn't it, as well, like youth services and, you know, trying to tackle poverty and housing insecurity. But I guess we are in this situation now. But just last year, Yvette Cooper declared violence against women and girls a national emergency, and now you're seeing that they're potentially releasing prisoners after 28 days. So for me, I'm disappointed in the Labour government for not taking more drastic measures.
It's interesting that the government's own domestic abuse commissioner, Dame Nicole Jacobs, has warned lives are at risk. This is amid the fears that these changes can mean those victims left unprotected. So
they've got some of their own advisors advising against it.
It's also just really disappointing for domestic abuse to be considered a non-violent crime.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it feels like that needs to be sort of looked at carefully, that particular part.
They're in a hole, but I don't think this is the way out.
No, yeah, absolutely. Let's change the tone entirely.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk Barbie.
Well, don't look at me with respect. I mean, I'm happy to join in, but I would suggest...
Well, you know, if you ever worn a pair of high heels, Nick?
Oh, probably when I was a kid dressing up, but not for any other reason.
Probably when you were a kid.
Yes, OK.
That's a very grey area.
Not that I can recall.
Apparently, Barbie has
political
come
answer.
a long way since her debut in 1959, and now a new study has found that she's increasingly swapping stilettos for sensible shoes. So essentially, when Barbie was first created, her feet were like this, and gradually, they're lowering down. Is trading high heels for flats a feminist step forward?
I definitely am not going to say it's a feminist step forward because I am a proud feminist and I wear high heels all the time. So I kind of think that this plays on this idea that feminists have to kind of eschew femininity and not wear makeup and burn their bras. You can be feminist and love makeup. I think what this is really great for, it helps to break the beauty norms, because the reality is there are lots of professions still who expect women to wear heels. It's considered a kind of beauty norm that women have to almost like perform femininity and wear high heels and lipstick to do their job. So I think what makes it a great feminist thing is choice. And I love Barbie. I'm such a huge fan. And, you know, they have come such a long way since, was it 1959, when Barbie first launched? And, you know, just looking at the pictures that we see, they are like champions of diversity, of ability, of
Doctors,
race. And
scientists, astronauts.
Exactly. And so I think this is, of course, a positive step because women, feminists or not, also wear flat shoes. I think the beauty here is choice and not society demand.
In the 60s, 100%, Nick, of Barbies had feet shaped for heels. Now that number's dropped to just 40%.
Yes, yes. I mean, I don't know why questions aren't being asked in the House about this. But look, I defer totally, but I would have thought the goal, the ambition of feminism is you can wear high heels if you want to, you can wear flat, you can wear whatever you want to wear. So if they're espousing that, from my point of view, as someone who obviously... But obviously I agree with a lot of the feminist principles. You have your high heels if you want them, if you don't want them. And I think... Is it still Mattel? Yes, probably is. I think that Mattel are reflecting that with the manufacturer.
One of my favourite scenes in the
feminist king.
But one of my favourite scenes in the movie was when Barbie takes her shoes off, but her feet stay with their heels. I mean, that's the sort of the iconic look that they had. It's interesting that they're adapting that as times have changed.
There's a Barbie 2 on the way, I think, isn't there?
But I doubt it was far too successful not to do another one. Great stuff.
And Ken was great too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Nick and Ashley are still with us to talk through more of today's headlines. And you joined us after the break. We were talking about your... who was it? The 87-year-old, the 80-year-old?
My dad.
Your dad?
Yeah, my dad, who was basically... we were talking about what you can and can't do when you get to a certain age, and the doctors try and say, well, you need to sort of watch what you're eating, you need to watch what you're drinking, and my dad went, what? Yeah. I'm 80. No. Why do I need to watch what I'm drinking now? Of all the times I can really just enjoy myself, I'm going to have a glass of wine.
Do you think he'd like to be arrested?
Probably has been. Probably. He doesn't like to talk about...
There was a period...
He is actually a Felton Magistrates Court tomorrow afternoon.
It's genetic.
Because he didn't listen to the doctor and he had too much to drink.
There's a 97-year-old resident, Maggie Clark, who's finally ticked off a bucket list dream. And it wasn't skydiving, it wasn't a world cruise. Maggie wanted to be arrested by a policeman. And thanks to her brilliant care home staff, she got her wish.
A handsome policeman.
Did she get to pick which policeman?
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this is like obviously a lovely story, but you do want... I was also like, oh, no wonder you can't find a policeman on the street.
Oh, don't, come on, don't knock them. That's
no, I think this is great. And do you know what? Maybe when I'm 97, if I haven't been arrested already for my big mouth, I'll...
Good on the
men.
men.
I think
Good
it's
on the men.
It did take 6 of them.
That does seem a little... I would suggest that picture doesn't work. 1 or 2. The other one, you're not so sure.
She's a former children's nurse and resident of Elizabeth Lodge in Enfield, not far from where I grew up, and the staff made this happen for her. Officers from Wood Green Police Station arrived at the care home with a set of handcuffs and an arrest warrant. Miss Clark gleefully put her hands together and smiled for the cameras of the PC. Benjamin Flint arrested her.
Yeah, the trouble was, when they put her details in, all her previous came up. I'm kidding.
They were like, we can arrest you, but you won't be able to go to prison because there is no space.
I love it. She said, I've been too good for too long, I think. It was definitely on my bucket list to be arrested by a handsome policeman. My list is complete. I loved it.
And then she was treated to a birthday cake and a party.
Some of you have been telling us about your bucket list. Sharon says she's not as old as the care home resident. She did this at 53. Which is always very brave. Have you done a skydive, Nick?
No, I've never done it and I never will.
Still on my bucket list.
You'd have one, you'd give it a go?
Yeah, I would do it, yeah.
It is fabulous. And then Elise sent us this. Number one thing has been on my list from all my life was meeting my favourite wrestler, The Undertaker. And my inner child was screaming. He's about 6'7", if not taller. He's enormous, isn't he?
He's huge.
Love
Absolutely huge.
Right, then, let's talk biscuits. Apparently,
This made you happy.
if you want to lose weight, the secret, Nick, Is in chocolate biscuits.
Yes. Researchers say antioxidants in the cocoa used to make dark chocolate, so we better stress that before everyone goes racing to pick up whatever the other chocolate trigger fullness hormones, which, of course, fullness hormones, actually, is what these Ozempic and Wegovy and Mounjaro... Right. So I can see where they're coming, because these then make you think that you've had enough. So this is exactly what they're doing. They intensify the effects by creating a special cocoa biscuit, which gives you a sort of cocoa buzz, as it were. Pilot group of 11 people ate the biscuits one day in the morning. I mean...
It's a big pilot.
Yes, I was just going to say 11... I don't know anybody watching. I wouldn't base your whole diet plan on 11 people eating a chocolate biscuit.
Dr Zoe is standing by to offer a medical opinion. Zoe, chocolate biscuits, then, they're good to allow us to lose weight.
Oh, but it's nothing to do with the biscuit. I think, as Nick said, we do know that a small amount of dark chocolate can suppress the hunger hormone ghrelin. But what these Italian scientists were looking at is if they actually add a plant extract to that, can it add to that hunger suppression by stimulating GLP-1, which Nick rightly said is what the weight loss jabs are based on. Yeah, I mean, 11 participants who were all a healthy weight. It's not even a school experiment. But, I mean, in an ideal world, my advice, if you want to suppress your hunger, would be to add more protein and add more fibre to your diet, in an ideal world. But the real world we live in, the typical adult in this country gets 50% of their food from ultra-processed foods. So, you know, the scientist part of my brain thinks, well, actually, if there could be a plant extract that's safe, that could be added to these ultra-processed foods, and that would make people want to eat smaller quantities of them, could that be a good thing? Potentially. So it's interesting, but it is the very, very first step of those multitude of steps.
It is a very small survey. I was quite excited by the fact that the plant is the absinthe plant, Ashley, which, of course, I don't know if you've ever drunk absinthe, but there is something in that is exciting.
Not for a very long time. PTSD. My absinthe days are well and truly over, but yes.
It might suppress something if you have a bit of absinthe, that's the thing.
It does make the heart grow fonder.
Oh, dear.
Good idea.
Oh, dear. No, you've never used a dating app, have you?
No.
I've never used a dating app.
They weren't around when I was out there in the Wild West, of just sort of trying to stumble into somebody and hope they noticed you.
I know, but apparently they don't work.
I met my partner on a dating app.
You did, didn't you?
But
didn't you know each other before, though,
Sort of, but we wouldn't have we'd never have, like, reconnected or crossed paths if it wasn't for the dating app.
Right, but apparently people are giving up on them because they've become a minefield of lies.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of friends who are kind of late 30s, early 40s, who would love to meet someone, would love to have kids, but the dating apps, whoever said there's plenty of fish in the sea, I think hasn't been on a dating site in the 2020s. It is awful, and I think part of the problem is, like, back in the day, I imagine, when you guys would romance, you'd kind of meet people within your social circles. So everyone is kind of, like, behaviourally accountable to people that they know, whereas I think with online dating, it's kind of like shopping, isn't it?
Thank God I've never been unemployed. I've met all my wives at work.
But so when you were on the dating app, Ashley, were your stats and was that all honest and fair? Was it all above board? Your age, your height, how sporty you were? Or you weren't lying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a catfish.
You wouldn't embroider the truth.
Well, she doesn't need to, does she?
But
I mean, it's not like me.
Maybe I said I was easygoing.
Oh, that is a lie. Now, that is a downright lie. That's a disgrace.
You know, you've got to put your best foot forward. So maybe Tommy would argue that I'm definitely a catfish.
Everyone's at it, you see. That's the point, right? So people you lie about your age, you lie about your height. I mean, Nick,
I would lie about everything. There would be no truth whatsoever. And it would be... I could probably be sued, actually. I probably would be arrested by the Met, because it's absolute false...
Right, what your age preference is?
Well, no, I don't know. No, it's in a world unknown to me.
It is, honestly.
I've never done it.
It is the Wild West. And I think we were talking, was it last week or the week before, how also there's, you know, you still don't know people's backgrounds when they're going onto these dating apps. So it really, really is. It's so difficult for people to meet anyone, but it's difficult in the real life as well.
Yeah.
1 in 6 daters polled by online dating sites said they failed beforehand to reveal they had children.
Yeah.
8% have been out for a drink with someone who said they were teetotal when they weren't.
Then having interesting hobbies, 22% had said. Being rich, 42% had lied about that.
Oh,
and even being single, 44% of people lied about that. Terrible. So, yeah. A level playing
But it can work. And it has worked wonderfully
I think it can work, but I feel like you just need to keep your boundaries high and know that there is definitely a lot of liars
Yeah.
on there, basically.
Thankfully, Tommy was not assuaged by your lies about being easygoing now, and that was it. And he found the dream woman.
Stuck now.
Yeah. Mild-mannered. Yeah, right, exactly, mild-mannered.
Right then, let's talk about driving. Songs that should be banned in a car.
According to new research, the music you listen to whilst driving could be turning you into a road risk, where songs with faster beats make you more reckless on the roads, which I can kind of... You know how they play things into soldiers' headsets, like when they're going on missions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they play, like, really heavy rock. Yeah, maybe it does. What do you think, Nick?
Well, I remember I was a junior executive in a news organisation. I won't give any names, but I suddenly had to get from the offices to Whitehall or Number 10 or whatever it might be. So the editor-chief executive figure said, take my car, get the driver, because he had a driver, get the driver, get the driver. So I go racing. So the guy is coming down with me. So Jack the driver opens the Jaguar, I get in the back, starts... And suddenly, the Ride of the Valkyries, which is from Apocalypse Now.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
And he said, as we come about the last 5 minutes, you will get no name, he always insists on that because it gets him in the mood to go and deal with you lot. So no wonder he came in like he was ready for a boxing match.
So
you get Ride of the Valkyries driving through that is quite...
This is right.
I didn't know you set that up. It's taken me back 30 years.
Does it make you clench your buttocks a little
Yeah,
bit?
if I think of that boss, it does.
I'm quite a nervous driver and I feel like this would put me on edge.
Well, songs of a fast tempo that have 120 beats per minute can subconsciously encourage drivers to speed up and change lanes. What we should be listening to, 60 to 80 beats per minute. So things a little bit like Make You Feel My Love by Adele.
Was this study commissioned by Adele?
I love this.
Is this sort of thing you listen to?
Not for the car. I love this song, and Angels by Robbie Williams, another one. I feel like it's a bit slow for me. I like a good sing-along. I like a girly...
That's quite a good sing-along.
Kelly Clarkson, Since You've Been Gone.
Yeah.
Lizzo, which they've said that you shouldn't play, but yeah, I feel like I like a good sing-along.
Lizzo's too fast, is it?
This is perfect for me. This is like my vibe.
This leads to road rage.
This one?
Yeah.
This song specifically?
This song specifically, especially when it's over 120 beats per minute.
I can't imagine getting angry listening to Lizzo.
No.
So if someone says they don't like the song, it might upset you, I'd imagine.
Ben, where would you stand with Ding Dong the Witch is Dead? Would I be...
Why do you think about that next to me?
Yeah, that's right.
I think as long as it's under 120 beats per minute, I'm very
okay,
happy for that.
All right,
very content with that. Do you use a sat-nav when you're in the car, Ashley?
If I was brave enough to drive in London, I would definitely be using a sat-nav.
And would it be voice-activated, or would you just have the map up?
Oh, I mean, voice-activated.
It has to have the voice.
To be, yeah.
Nick, are you sat-nav with voice?
Until my car was nicked on Tuesday, I'm afraid. I'm afraid another statistic. Yes, I loved my sat-nav. I loved my car. If anybody sees a black Jeep being driven around London, I love driving in my car.
And did it have a voice on it?
Yes, it did. I loved it.
And what was the voice?
That would be a female voice, Ben.
It was a
It would be a female voice, yes. Why do you ask, Ben?
We have an example of a female voice. This is the
Turn left. You have reached your destination.
Who's nicked my car? That's it.
0.1 mile.
So that's the female voice. We've got a male voice for you as well.
Turn right in 0.1 miles. Turn left.
So that's what Ryland's doing now.
That's a bit...
What was that?
It's Ryland.
What was that? Our producer, I think that's our producer, Johnny, actually, singing along. Apparently, a study found that men take more risk on the road when they're listening to a sexy female voice, Nick.
Well, that's because we're all used to taking instructions from women, isn't it? You know, really. From the moment we're born, Mum tells us what to do. Then, you know, if we're moving towards the ages, we get a wife and they tell us what to do. So I'm not in the least bit surprised.
I thought this was actually the opposite. So the study showed that men are more likely to run red lights when given instructions by a female voice. And no, I think it's like, I'm not listening to you.
How dare you? Pure fear. That's what does it.
Celebrity voices also has an effect. Researchers said that whilst innovations like celebrity voices or high-pitched female voices in the car navigation systems are popular, especially young drivers, the influence on the safety remains questionable. So you could have Justin Timberlake, you can have Christina Aguilera.
Wow, you know you've made it when you become a celebrity sat-nav voice.
Sir Ian McKellen is who I want.
Yes.
That's who I want.
Attenborough.
Stephen Fry.
Yes.
Take it. You take
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
Guys, thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.